Welcome to this revision video, which looks at Unit 2 and Section 2.52, which is the Integrated Development Environment, or IDE. One of the areas that you'll need to know is the different features that an IDE has. So the syllabus refers to this as the common tools and facilities available in an IDE. Basically, what they're asking, or what they'll ask you questions about, is do you know what tools and features are available in an IDE to help a programmer? And within an IDE we have the editor, we have error diagnostics, runtime environment, and translators. And we'll go through each of these in a bit more detail later, but to give you a quick overview, the editor allows you to type the code and highlights any errors and syntax, and gives you prompts and hints. It's a bit like a grammar checker. We've also got the error diagnostics, which is when you run the program, the error diagnostics tool will highlight the errors. It usually gives you a line number. It may sometimes highlight it or color code it so that you can identify where the error is. Notice it doesn't actually give you what the error is, it just highlights that there's an error. We've got the runtime environment, which allows the code to run. So if you've written a Python program, you've probably used something like IDLE, and when you write the code, it obviously needs to run in an environment to output the results. And finally, we've got translators. Translator in an IDE allows the program code to be translated between different languages. The easy way to remember the different features of an IDE are to use this word, REAT. Just say it, REAT. Easy to remember, easy to spell. You can see there that each of the letters corresponds to one of the features. R is runtime environment, E is editor, the second E is error diagnostics, and the T is translator. You can write this down now, pause the video, or you may find that it's fairly easy to remember the word REAT, and that will help you remember the 4 different features. So on your screen here you have a IDE, an Integrated Development Environment. This is an IDE called Mu for writing in Python and MicroPython, and you can see, although it's not obvious, the various different features. So we've got the runtime environment, we've got the editor here, and you can see that these elements here are highlighted, which is obviously the editor supporting us. We've got the run button here. There aren't any errors in the moment, so obviously they're not being displayed. If we look at IDLE, which is a common one that you've probably used, so here I've left out one of the brackets, and you can see that it's the editor is trying to help me or support me to close that particular line of code. So it's offering solutions. It's a bit like kind of predictive text. It's trying to finish the line of code for me, which is obviously how an editor helps you. In the bottom image there, you've got a short error message from a program that I wrote. I've obviously put hello without any brackets, sorry, without any quotations. And although it doesn't tell you what the error is, it does tell you where the error is. So it's on line 1. This is what the error is. And I haven't actually defined what hello is. So this is an example of error diagnostics. Now some extra hints for you. So when you're talking about the IDE, in terms of the assessment and the skills you need, the first point is that you need to have knowledge of the tools an IDE provides. So that's your REAT. Okay, those are the 4 tools that the IDE provides. Secondly, you need to know how each of the tools and facilities listed can be used to help a programmer develop the program. So for example, how does an IDE, how does REAT support me as a programmer to write programs and to code? And then finally, you have to have practical experience of using a range of these tools within at least one IDE. So in Key Stage 3 and 4, you've probably done some kind of programming. You may also program at home, and you will have used an IDE. This is more difficult to assess because obviously it's a practical skill, but the exam board, the syllabus states that you should have had practical experience using an IDE. So taking bullet points number 1 and number 2, we're going to have a look at an exercise now where you can actually apply the knowledge and understanding. So what I'd like you to do is to create this table, and then I want you to think about a programmer, or maybe yourself programming, coding, and I want you to make a list under each of the headings, the ways in which each of the features supports the programmer. So for example, an IDE has an editor. What does an editor do? It highlights functions. So when if I put a function in certain IDEs, it will highlight the colors. In error checking, what does it do? Well, we saw the previous example, it displays errors in red. I should say in red. What else does it do? It suggests the line, or gives you the line number where the error is. Okay, so I'd like you please to fill that in with as many different ways in which an IDE can support a programmer to develop their code or their program. Press pause on the video now and complete that. So the final part of this presentation is to have a look at an exam style question, because obviously this is what the revision is for. So first of all, here's an example. A translator is a common tool found in an integrated development environment, IDE. Describe 2 other common tools and facilities that an IDE can provide. And you've got 4 marks. So the first thing is there's 2 answers here, or 2 points. They're asking for 2, but there's 4 marks. So there must be something else that you have to do in order to get those additional marks. And the key here is to look at this command word here, which says describe. So it says describe 2 other common tools. So what they're looking for is, first of all, the name of the tool, and then a description of what it does. If you go back to REAT, we've got Runtime Environment, Editor, Error Diagnostics or Checker, Translators. It's already mentioned translator, so you can't put that down as an answer. You have to choose from R, E or E. So pause the video, answer the question, and when you're finished, we'll have a look at the answers. So let's have a look at the answers for this. Here is the mark sheet. There's only 3 answers you could have given: Editor, Error Diagnostics and Runtime Environment. So you can see here, you get 1 mark for writing the name of the feature, and then the second mark for the description of how it supports the code, or what it allows you to do within the IDE. You'll notice here on the right hand side they also give alternative answers, which is useful in case you mentioned something. You might, instead of saying editor, you might have said, oh, the IDE offers breakpoints, which allows you to rather than explicitly using the word editor. But the key here is it does ask you to describe, so you have to say, what does the editor enable you to do? And if you completed the table earlier, hopefully you would have found that easy. Okay, let's have a recap. So you need to know, number 1, the features of an IDE, and secondly, you need to know how they support a coder or programmer. Final exercise then, I'd like you to write down what the 4 areas of an IDE are. If you need a hint, the first one begins with R, second one with E, third one with E, and the last one is with T. Press pause if you're still writing it down. And here we go, let's have a look at the answers. So, Runtime Environment is the first feature of an IDE. Then we've got editors, error diagnostics, translators. Remember, you need to know these 4 features and also how they support and help a coder or programmer to do their job. Many thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if the videos are helpful. If you've got any questions or queries, or there's any topics that you would like to be covered in these videos, then drop them in the comments below. Thank you very much, and good luck in your exams and assessments.